My name is Sheila, I am 34 years old, and I died on February 14th, 2018. I need to tell you what Jesus showed me on the other side because it completely changed everything I thought I knew about helping people. I was driving home from church that evening. It was raining hard. I remember the truck coming into my lane. I remember the impact. Then nothing. The doctors said I was gone for 11 minutes. But where I went felt like hours. Maybe days. Time doesn't work the same way there. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my car anymore. I was standing in this place. I can't even describe it properly. It was light but not blinding. Peaceful but intense. And then I saw him. Jesus was right there in front of me. I know people will doubt this. I know some will say I was hallucinating or my brain was playing tricks. But I'm telling you what I experienced. He was real. More real than anything I'd ever seen in my physical life. He smiled at me. Not a pitying smile. A knowing smile. Like he'd been expecting me. Sheila, he said. And hearing him say my name broke something open in me. I started crying immediately. Am I dead? You're here, he said. And there are things you need to understand before you go back. Go back. I didn't understand. Your work isn't finished, he told me. But you've been doing it wrong. You've been helping the wrong people in the wrong ways. And it's destroying you. I didn't know what to say. I'd always tried to help everyone. I thought that's what Christians were supposed to do. Come, he said. Let me show you. Jesus touched my shoulder and suddenly I was seeing my own life play out in front of me. But I was seeing it differently. Like he was showing me what I couldn't see before. I saw myself with my cousin Marcus. I'd been giving him money for 2 years. Every month. Sometimes more. He always had a reason why he couldn't work. His back hurt. The job market was bad. He was waiting for the right opportunity. But Jesus showed me what Marcus did with his days. Sleeping until noon. Playing video games. Scrolling on his phone. He had opportunities. He just didn't take them. Do you remember what Paul wrote? Jesus asked me. I nodded. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 10. Yes, Jesus said. There's a difference between cannot work and will not work. Your cousin will not work. And every time you rescue him, you teach him that he doesn't have to. I felt sick. But I was trying to help him. You were enabling him. Jesus said gently. Sheila, laziness isn't a weakness. It's a choice. Proverbs 10 verse 4 says lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. When someone refuses to move, refuses to try, refuses to apply themselves, the poverty they experience is the consequence of their own decisions. He showed me more. I saw how drained I'd become. How frustrated. How Marcus never changed no matter how much I gave. When you keep feeding a man who refuses to plow his own field, Jesus said, you keep him from learning to trust me. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let someone feel the weight of their choices. How do I know the difference? I asked. Between someone who's struggling and someone who's just lazy. Jesus showed me the signs. They always have excuses, but plenty of time for entertainment. They expect others to provide but won't put in effort themselves. They have opportunities, but refuse to take them. They waste resources. They only seek help in a crisis, but never take action to prevent the next one. I thought about Marcus. Every single one of those signs fit him. You cannot save someone who is committed to staying stuck, Jesus told me. And you were never meant to carry what I didn't ask you to carry. I understood. Finally, I understood. Then Jesus showed me another scene from my life. My neighbor Patricia. I'd helped her so many times I'd lost count. Watched her kids. Loaned her money. Driven her to appointments. Brought her groceries when she was sick. But as Jesus showed me these moments, I saw something I'd been too close to see before. She never said thank you. Not once. She acted like everything I did was owed to her. Expected. And when I couldn't help one time because I had my own emergency, she got angry at me. Do you remember the 10 lepers? Jesus asked. I did. Luke 17 verses 17 to 18. Jesus healed 10 men, but only one came back to thank him. I asked where the other 9 were. Jesus said, that question matters, Sheila. Where are the people who received but never returned? Who were helped but never acknowledged the hand that lifted them? He looked at me with such kindness. Gratitude is the mark of a humble heart, but ungratefulness is the mark of entitlement and selfishness. He showed me how much Patricia's ingratitude had hurt me, how bitter I'd become, how used I felt. Paul warned about this. Jesus said, in 2 Timothy 3 verse 2, he said, in the last days people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, ungrateful, unholy. Ungratefulness is a sign of a heart that's turned away from God. But shouldn't I help anyway? I asked. Even if they don't appreciate it? Helping an ungrateful person is like pouring water into a bottomless pit. Jesus explained, no matter how much you pour, it will never be enough. The more you sacrifice, the more they demand. And they will never see it as a gift. They will always see it as their right. He showed me something from Proverbs 17 verse 13. Evil will never leave the house of one who repays good with evil. Some people don't just fail to say thank you. They turn on the very person who helped them. I'd experienced that too. Times when I'd gone out of my way for someone only to have them betray me or walk away like I'd never done anything. I didn't call you to be anyone's doormat. Jesus said firmly, stop giving your best to people who don't value it. Stop sacrificing for people who don't acknowledge it. Then, he taught me something beautiful about gratitude. When I multiplied the fish and loaves, he said, I gave thanks first. John 6 verse 11. Gratitude is a key to increase. When you're grateful, I release more. But when you're ungrateful, you block your own breakthrough. He looked at me seriously. Some people aren't stuck because of spiritual attack. They're stuck because of their own ingratitude. And if you keep enabling them, you're not helping them learn this lesson. Jesus touched my hand, and I saw another person from my life. Derek, a guy I'd tried to mentor at church. He'd asked for my help with his business. Said he wanted my advice. But every time I gave him counsel, he had a reason why it wouldn't work. Every time I corrected something, he got defensive. Every time I warned him about a decision, he ignored me. Then when things went wrong, he blamed everyone but himself. Pride goes before destruction. Jesus quoted, a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16 verse 18. He showed me how Derek's arrogance had destroyed opportunity after opportunity. How he refused to listen to anyone because he thought he knew better. I oppose the proud, Jesus said, and his voice was serious. James 4 verse 6. When someone operates in arrogance, they're not just fighting circumstances or people. They're standing in opposition to me. That hit me hard. But aren't we supposed to help everyone? You help the hurting. You lift the fallen. You strengthen the weak, Jesus said. But you don't waste time on people who don't believe they need help. Pride is a closed door, Sheila. When you try to correct a proud person, they reject your wisdom. When you try to guide them, they ignore your counsel. When you try to warn them, they dismiss you. He showed me Proverbs 26 verse 12. Do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for them. Some people aren't suffering because of attacks, Jesus explained. They're suffering because they refuse to listen. They refuse to take correction. They refuse to humble themselves. He showed me King Nebuchadnezzar, how he looked over his kingdom and said, is not this the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty? Daniel 4 verse 30. The moment he took credit for what I had done, Jesus said, judgment fell. I stripped him of his power and made him live like an animal until he humbled himself. Then he showed me Pharaoh, how Moses warned him 10 times. But Pharaoh hardened his heart, refused to listen, refused to submit, and his entire kingdom was destroyed. Pride makes people ignore warnings, Jesus told me. It makes them reject wise counsel. It makes them fight battles they were never meant to fight. I thought about all the times I'd tried to help Derek, all the frustration, all the wasted effort. You cannot force wisdom on a fool, Jesus said. Matthew 7 verse 6 warns not to throw your pearls to pigs. Some people will take the wisdom you give and trample on it. You cannot help someone who refuses to acknowledge they need help. What should I do? Confront pride with love, he said. But if they refuse to listen, step back. Let me deal with them. Some lessons can only be learned through hardship. Nebuchadnezzar didn't change until he lost everything. Sometimes the most loving thing is to let someone experience the consequences of their arrogance. Then Jesus showed me something darker. A woman I'd known from my old job, Lisa. She'd asked me to help her with something that didn't feel right. She wanted me to lie for her, to cover for her, to help her cheat the system. I'd said no, but I'd felt guilty about it for months. Jesus looked at me, Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked. Psalm 1 verse 1. There's a difference, he said, between a sinner who repents and a wicked person who refuses to change. Between someone who struggles with sin and someone who embraces it, defends it, encourages others into it. He showed me Proverbs 6 verses 16 to 19. The things God hates: lying tongues, hands that shed innocent blood, hearts that devise wicked schemes, feet that run quickly to evil. When you help the wicked, Jesus said seriously, you share in their guilt. Romans 1 verse 32 warns that people not only continue in sin but also approve of those who practice it. If you support them, enable them, assist them in their rebellion, you partner with something I've already condemned. I felt the weight of that. He showed me Jezebel, her wickedness, and tragic downfall in 2 Kings 9. He showed me Cain, who murdered Abel and was cursed. He showed me Judas, who betrayed him and ended in destruction. They were all warned, Jesus said, but they refused to repent. But how do I love them without enabling them? Set boundaries. Jesus said simply, speak truth. Don't compromise. Love them enough to tell them the truth, but don't support their rebellion. You can pray for them without participating in their sin. You can love them without endorsing their actions. You can intercede without letting them pull you into their mess. He looked at me with such clarity. You're not God, Sheila. It's not your job to save them. It's your job to stand for righteousness. Some people will never change until they experience the consequences of their sin. Jesus then showed me my friend Amy. Amy, who kept going back to the same abusive boyfriend. Amy, who I'd counseled for 3 years. Who I'd let stay at my house. Who I'd paid for therapy. Who I'd prayed with and cried with and fought for. But every single time she went back to him. Walk with the wise and become wise. Jesus quoted, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Proverbs 13 verse 20. I started to cry. But I love her. I want to help her. I know, Jesus said gently, but she's not ready to receive help. A fool is someone who hears wisdom but rejects it. Someone who repeats the same mistakes over and over. He showed me Proverbs 26 verse 11. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. It was harsh, but it was true. Amy kept doing the exact same thing. You cannot save a fool, Jesus said. A fool doesn't lack knowledge, Sheila. A fool lacks humility. It's not that they don't know what's right. They refuse to accept correction. He showed me all the times I talked to Amy, all the wisdom I'd shared, all the resources I'd provided, and how she'd rejected every single bit of it. When you keep helping a fool, you become part of the cycle, Jesus explained. You become the person they turn to when they need rescue. But they will never change. They want help but not correction. They want relief, but not transformation. I saw how drained I'd become, how exhausted, how hopeless. Proverbs 14 verse 7 says, stay away from a fool, for you will not find knowledge on their lips, Jesus said. Sometimes you need to step back and let life teach them what they refuse to learn from you. But what if she gets hurt? She's already getting hurt, Jesus said, over and over. And your rescuing her isn't stopping that. It's just delaying the lesson she needs to learn. He showed me the signs of a fool. They hear wisdom but reject it. They make the same mistakes repeatedly. They want rescue but not change. They drain everyone around them. They blame others for their problems. You cannot save a fool, Jesus repeated. Only I can humble them. And sometimes I use pain to do it. The last person Jesus showed me was the hardest to see. My own sister. Rachel had been asking me for money for years. Always with heartbreaking stories. Always with urgent needs. Medical bills. Rent. Car repairs. Her kids needed things. But Jesus showed me the truth. Most of it was lies. The money went to things she didn't want to tell me about. She knew exactly what to say to make me feel guilty. She knew how to manipulate my emotions. She knew I'd give because I loved her. The Lord detests lying lips, Jesus said. But he delights in people who are trustworthy. Proverbs 12 verse 22. I was crying now. Hard. Deception isn't always obvious, Jesus said gently. 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14 warns that Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. The most dangerous liars sound sincere. The most dangerous manipulators act like victims. He showed me Proverbs 26 verses 24 to 26. Enemies disguise themselves with their lips, but in their hearts they harbor deceit. Though their speech is charming, do not believe them. I saw all the times Rachel had played on my emotions, the guilt trips, the twisted stories, the pressure. If someone has manipulated you to get your help, Jesus said, they don't deserve it. If they've twisted the truth or pressured you into giving, you need to step back. He showed me the signs. They always have a story, but the details don't add up. They only come around when they need something. They guilt trip you if you hesitate. They have a pattern of using people. They make promises they never keep. They never take responsibility. All of it fit Rachel. I didn't call you to be deceived, Jesus said. I called you to walk in wisdom. This was the hardest lesson, because it was family, because I loved her, because part of me wanted to keep believing her stories. But Jesus was showing me the truth I'd been avoiding. After Jesus showed me these 6 types of people, he held both my hands. Sheila, he said, I'm sending you back. But you need to understand something. Wisdom is the principal thing. Proverbs 4 verse 7. Your help must be led by godly wisdom, not just emotions. There's a difference between being a blessing and being an enabler, he continued. I set boundaries. I walked away from certain people. I did not allow myself to be manipulated by those who had no desire to change. If I set boundaries, why do you struggle to do the same? He looked at me with such love. You can love people without rescuing them. You can pray for people without enabling them. You can have compassion without being drained. But you must be wise about who you pour into. There are people who truly need your help, he said. People who will appreciate your kindness. People who will use what you give wisely. People who will listen and learn and grow. But if you keep giving all your energy to people who refuse to change, you'll have nothing left for the ones who truly need it. Then he said something I'll never forget. When you give to the right people, you will see growth. When you sow into the right people, you will see fruit. When you help those who are truly ready to change, you will see transformation. Be wise. Be discerning. And trust me to handle the ones who refuse to listen. He touched my forehead. It's time to go back. Hashtag after I came back. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. The doctors said it was a miracle. My injuries should have killed me. They couldn't explain why I survived. But I knew why. Everything Jesus showed me was real. The lazy cousin, the ungrateful neighbor, the proud mentee, the wicked coworker, the foolish friend, the manipulative sister. I had to make changes. It wasn't easy. Setting boundaries hurt. Saying no felt wrong at first. People got angry. They said I'd changed. That I wasn't the same caring person anymore. But I wasn't the same person. I'd died. I'd met Jesus. And he'd show me the truth. I'm not saying we shouldn't help people. Jesus never said that. But he showed me we must help with wisdom. We must use discernment. We must protect what God has given us, so we can give it to the right people. Proverbs 23 verse 9 says, do not speak to fools, for they will scorn your prudent words. Sometimes the most loving thing is to step back. To let God do his work. To stop interfering with the lessons he's trying to teach. If you're reading this and you're exhausted from helping people who never change, maybe God is trying to tell you the same thing he told me. Maybe you're pouring into the wrong soil. Maybe you're giving pearls to pigs who will trample them. Ask God for discernment. Ask him, am I helping the right people? Am I pouring into good ground or wasting my efforts? Because when you give to the right people, you'll see breakthrough. When you help those who are ready, you'll see transformation.